All right, so this is Tweed Recording Studio, and we want to make sure we celebrate them for their outstanding adaptive reuse. We really love the fam over at Tweed. They supported us this year with Historic Athens Porch Fest, so the first annual. We are still working with them to try to figure out what this October is going to look like for hopefully our second annual Historic Athens Porch Fest. But whether it's Andrew Ratcliffe or David Snow Dwyer or anyone involved in Tweed, we really appreciate the value that they're bringing to downtown Athens. So as far as an award description, after over 60 years serving as the Lamar Lewis shoe store, Tweed Recording Studio has established itself in Athens with a campus comprised of this old store and 2 adjoining buildings facing Washington Street. So this one facility, just for those of you that haven't been in it, and it is an incredible space, connects from where Lamar Lewis was all the way through, back through the old Copper Creek property. So now is a state-of-the-art music recording school. Students and musicians at Tweed learn to be audio professionals in a creative space blending historic elements like thick plaster and brick walls and a giant skylight with high-tech soundproof studios and performance spaces. The performance spaces have already been home to a number of local concerts. I know that it's one of the fun things about Athens is that there's always new stages for our wonderful music scene to perform on, and Tweed is going to join that family. So as far as recipients, we have Andrew Ratcliffe as owner, Character Built as contractor, Studio B&A as architect, and Kirsten Ogburn as design. And as a fun fact, when they went through this building as they were restoring it, they found that the owner had meticulously kept receipts on every shoe sold. So if you bought shoes in the last 60 years in downtown Athens, there's a good chance the receipt for your purchase was still there.
Okay, so our first interview, again, as I was saying, is Tweed Recording Studio, and I'm going to show a picture of the place that they have chosen to open their business, which many of you will be familiar as the Lamar Lewis Shoe Store. So they took that store and rehabilitated it and turned it into the music venue and music recording studio that it is today. So I wanted you to have a mental image of what we were talking about tonight before we got into meeting our following interviewees. So I would like to go ahead and introduce Andrew Ratcliffe, who is the owner of Tweed Recording Studio. Good evening, Andrew. Glad to have you here tonight. Then I also want to introduce David Dwyer, who is part of this team. David, you there? There you go. Thank you, David, for being here. And then I will also go ahead and introduce Zach Brindell. And Zach's role is as contractor. So, all right, so we have Andrew Ratcliffe, who is the owner of this recording studio. David Dwyer, who has a kind of a couple roles. His initial role was helping Andrew find and select a place to be able to have the studio in Athens. And then, as David is wont to do, he got involved in this, and Andrew found the value of David and brought him in to be a part of the team for Tweed. And then Zach Brindell is Character Built, is a contractor that worked on this facility for them. So I'm glad to have all of you here tonight. Thank you for being here. So, how do we get started? So we're talking about Lamar Lewis store that's been a fixture in Athens for over 60 years, I guess. I'm pretty sure that Dave Dwyer went in there more than once to get a pair of shoes with his parents. I'm only speculating, David, but I'm pretty sure that would have happened since you grew up in Athens. So Andrew, before we get into the mechanics of the building and you're locating here, tell us a little bit about Tweed Recording. I think our audience will be very interested to hear what it is that you do, what your role and goals and that sort of thing is for Tweed Recording.
Absolutely, David. I mean, first and foremost, we are an audio production school teaching the next generation of folks how to place a microphone in something that has to do with music, film, really the creative economy, about what is the next generation of Athens musicians. Within that 12,000 square feet of space downtown, there are 3 living, breathing recording studios. There are facilities upstairs for all of our faculty. And we also have a 150 seat plus very intimate music venue to support what we're about in the creative economy, and putting on live shows and bringing people in to agree on this beautiful thing we call music. That's kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
Okay, well that's great. So how long has Tweed been in existence?
Tweed actually started in Oxford, Mississippi in 1995 as a recording studio. Had a really terrific run there, and then came to Athens with the idea, oh gosh, over 3 years ago, and finished this lovely building that we're in with, I guess it was September of last year.
Okay, great. All right, so David, knowing that you are the person to go to when you're looking for a space, how did Andrew know to get in touch with you? Or maybe I should ask Andrew.
Everybody else was busy.
Not true.
So, well, I actually met Andrew through a mutual really good friend, James Whitley. Put us together, and when Andrew was thinking about coming to Athens, and so we started looking around at where to put this and where to go, and it was providential, I believe, fortuitous at the very least, that Gene Lewis was winding up his shoe store at the time, after, I don't know, like been open somewhere around the early Renaissance period. It'd been here for a long time, and so given that opportunity, we looked long and hard at putting this school in the middle of the Athens music infrastructure. The ability to, as we say, step outside and throw a drumstick at the steps of the Georgia Theater, the proximity to some of the legacy sites of this town and the music history, made it make a lot of sense.
Good. Okay. So actually, when you started this this idea of this being a space that Andrew might be interested in, then actually Lamar Lewis Shoe Store was still open and operating?
It was, but I think at that time, Gene was really looking to what the next step for the family was, and the next step for the building.
Right. So it also seemed to work out really well that the building behind the shoe store, and actually even in a building beside the one that was behind the shoe store, also became available at near the same time?
Well, actually, the Lewis family owned the building. It was one of the few buildings that went from block to block. So it had an entrance on Washington Street and an entrance on Clayton Street. And the two buildings had been separated by an alley up until, looking at the Sanborn maps, somewhere in the late teens, early 20s, and the two buildings were joined. There was a row of one-story buildings on Washington Street, as you know, a lot of service buildings, and then sort of the fancy buildings on Clayton Street. So it was each of those. And then, as you said, the building to our left, which was a brew pub for a while, also became available about the time that we were looking at whether or not to acquire the Lamar Lewis building. So it gave us a footprint that we felt like we could achieve what we needed to with the school, and also, and Andrew will talk a little bit more about this, I'm sure, to preserve that space that was the shoe store as an extension of the school and an extension into the community, what we wanted to do to continue to promote live music.
Sure, that's great. So Andrew, you got really lucky there.
Well, you know,
you found a lot of real estate all at one time. So
we have, some of us call it lucky. We have a running joke, and not so much of a joke within our organization, that there are no such thing as coincidences. I had an idea to go out and build this on the outskirts of town, just like I was doing in Oxford, and Dwyer said, "Hey man, there's something really cool that you need to look at. And none of that would have been possible without Zach Brindle saying, yeah, we can do this. And I don't know how to build a recording studio, but I know how to follow plans. And through that, the building itself was there, all of the pieces, the history of that room. And like you said, David, a few minutes ago, about everyone coming into that space and buying shoes. And we felt it, we could have gone in there and opened anything else, but I felt a responsibility to say, let's keep something that's community minded, that keeps people coming into the space. And, we a series of people that we had talked about getting to help us with this. And Dwyer said, hey man, we need to talk to Zach. Zach's, is a wood guy, is a metal guy, gets his hands in the mud and really works. And Zach and I sat down and we started talking about it. And like I said, he was like, man, I know how to navigate downtown. I know I've got a great team of people. And literally, kind of fast forward, when we finished this thing, we threw a big party and got everybody in the building together to revel in what we had done over the past 2 years. Because along the way, it's like, well, we'll do this, but it shape shifted into another thing that really, no coincidence, became a better thing. And along the way, we all got to be family and spent a lot of time together, and day after day, nobody killed each other. So, I take credit for the idea, and Dwyer kind of saying, hey, here's where we can put the idea. But the guy that made this happen, and the 30 or so family members that I now get to call part of this organization, is character built in Zach Brindle, without a doubt.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, by the way, at this point, I wanted to say I think it's great that you decided to keep the Lamar Lewis name and the terrazzo as the entrance there. So it's such an iconic part of that building, and so I think everybody in Athens that's familiar with Lamar Lewis is probably appreciative of that. And basically, that building did not go away for them, even though it got reinvented. So that's really nice. I'm sorry that Brett and Abe could not be with us tonight, being a studio. When did you get Brett involved in this project? Early on, I guess.
It was a couple of months into it. I mean, I had an idea of how it all laid out, and not to get too deep into it, we were going to build it in Mississippi in another form in a 63-acre parcel of land, and it just so happened that the way we had it drawn out, we could manipulate it back into this space. And so Dwyer and Zach and I sat down and said, well, what really can you do here? I mean, you got these beautiful concrete walls and brick and mortar and history. What can we do to preserve the space? I mean, you walk into the space and the original brick there. I mean, we kept as much as we could. The upstairs, same thing. Floor is all original to it. Horsehair plaster. So it was a process of events of saying, okay, here's what we want to build. Here's how we want to build it. How can we manipulate the space? And then getting somebody that has the degree and the architecture and the engineering to come along and say, yeah, you guys aren't crazy. You can do this. So, and
okay, that's great. So Zach, apparently you are an integral part of this team. That otherwise this might not have carried off without you. So tell us a little bit about you and your company, and how long you've been in Athens, and we want to know about you. Okay, well, we don't have sound for Zach right at this minute, so we got to work on that.
How about there?
Oh, can we hear you now? Oh yeah, perfect.
Sorry.
He was reading the book.
Okay, come to the program.
Yeah, so I'll make it quick. I went to UGA, started in the late 90s, and just stuck around. And Athens has a few opportunities to make a go at it. So I started a wood shop in 2007 called Oneida Woodworks. We split some commercial construction stuff that we've been getting into off and started character built construction 4 years ago. And we've been doing mostly stuff in downtown, 5 Points, Normal Town, but just in Athens.
Okay.
Before this job came around a couple years ago.
So, as the contractor, what was it that was the most daunting part of trying to turn this one shoe store and other retail spaces all into one nice, neat package?
Besides dealing with me changing my mind a couple.
Besides you changing your mind.
Besides the personalities. No, I'm just kidding. It was a dream project. I'd like to go ahead and say. I mean, my favorite one of my career by far. It had all the fun elements: downtown, historic, structural buckets. We had acoustic, really nerdy building types that we had to get into. You know, all the acoustic isolation and a music venue, a classroom, recording studios, common area. I mean, it was just everything: kitchens, offices. It was just a lot of fun. We got to, and then we had an owner and a team that we were working with that was willing to trust us, and we were able to go through and salvage all this great old wood and even some of the shoe shelves that Gene used to store the shoes. Everything came out, was treated, and was put back in somewhere. And it was just a dream because we got to be real creative, and really every square inch of that building, there's thought and intent, and very few clients put up with us when we're given a leash like that. So it was great.
That's really interesting. I know enough about Athens to say that with that building going all the way through to Washington, was there level change there? Because
there was. I think it was an
higher
unintentional level change.
Level.
I think it was a 200 years of settling level change. But well, we had a couple of lucky breaks too. We were able to. It's really interesting, not to go too far down this path, but it was there's a bunch of buildings within that building. It's not a unified floor system. The walls don't connect. A lot of that acoustic nature meant that we had to build a building right next to another building, and it's all inside and it's seamless. But because of those breaks, we were able to kind of step things down and really iron out some of the height differences and the out of plumb and out of square challenges you find downtown.
Right. Okay, that's good. So, Andrew,
yeah.
How has this pandemic played with your recording classroom studio facility?
I'm still waiting to find that answer. I mean, the short story of it is we are. You know, the music industry is man. I mean, we took a hit, probably harder than a lot of folks. Not to say that makes it more or less important, but you know, we built this building to be to have space, but to be intimate. So we're trying to still do what we want to do, and you know, there's room for 24 people to learn in this building at a time, over 12,000 square feet. That's a pretty great opportunity. We've decided to cut it in half and give you even bigger opportunities. So 12 folks with our faculty walking around. It'll I think if you're responsible and you know, you wash your hands 1,000 times a day and you wear a mask and stay a little bit farther away than you want to from somebody, then you know, I think it's okay. That can be difficult in studios, but you know, back to Zach's point, I mean, every single, you know, even the unevenness of all this building, you know, the technology that we're allowed to have during this is that every single one of these rooms is connected via, you know, fiber internet, via Dante cables, and everything kind of works together. So you could put an entire band or a group of students in this building, and they would never have to walk into the same room and be together at the same time and still be able to learn. So that's we're very fortunate in that.
So how many people can be seated in the venue area that you created?
I think by code we've gotten around 155. We could be standing probably close to 180, 190, but you know, that's we didn't build it for that many. We built it for, hey, come in and sit down, have yourself a libation of sorts, and be quiet and turn your phone off and listen to music.
Okay. Well, that's good. So were you able to have some venues there before we sort of got shut down?
We did. We had
Okay, good.
great shows, and we're going to continue to have some great shows. We've already got a couple of really great bands that national and local bands that we're going to do virtually and have done inside the building and do safe. And we're going to bring the Lewis Room into your lap on your couch and your laptop. I mean, in a way, this is kind of great. I mean, I'm enjoying getting to see a lot of bands that I wouldn't get to see because I can't stay up till 2 a.m. anymore. So it's been fun.
Okay, that's fantastic. So David, you were involved in this project from the very beginning. I hear that there were receipts found for all of the people that bought shoes at Lamar Lewis over the years. That's pretty wild.
There were receipts, and even down to before, all of the info gathering that we have now from Google and everything else. The Lewis family had apparently already figured that out because there were books up there with your shoe size. So we actually know about your size 13 Triple E, David.
Yeah, right.
Over at that they had upstairs. There were artifacts that were unbelievable that we found there. There were old Banner Herald print ads. There was a lot of information that we passed along to the Special Collections Library and to others to preserve some of the things that we found. Gene even found a letter that his dad had written to my grandfather about buying football tickets for UGA. It was a real treasure trove. It was a lot of fun. And there were also a lot of shoes that Gene donated. Zach was able to help find some recipients for a lot of quality footwear as well. So, and I think the important thing too is two things that, like, one of the things that Zach said, that so much of what we took out of that building we put back in, and the waste was so small. And walking around that building, everything from shelving to trim, that you'll see it's wood that survived. So the spirit of the building is there, as well as the physical aspects of it too. So it really is it's a special project. It's a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah. So Zach, one of our audience members has typed in and said, so did the shoe fit, or did you have to force a size 9 into a size 3 shoe? Somebody had to make
Did it fit?
Right?
Man, how many times? I would like to say that working with Brett at BNA and his team, and then Kirsten Ogburn at Kirsten Ogburn Design, she did the design work. They adapted to every little site challenge. I mean, we had a big concept, and it's a big square footage area down there, but it's still just really a building and a half, 2 buildings. And I feel like we got 5 buildings worth of stuff in there. I don't know how they made it work. Those designers and those architects were awesome. We just do what we're told.
Well, it seems like a hugely successful project, and Andrew, we thank you for coming into our community and creating this recording studio school. I think it's a huge asset to our already great downtown. And so thank you for doing that. And thank you too for, keeping some of the symbolism of the shoe store with, again, I said, with leaving the name in the terrazzo, naming your venue, the Lewis Room, all of those kinds of things I think are really critical. And, I think that most people would just be very excited to know that a store downtown could be repurposed for that reason. And so thank you very much. Thanks to all of you for being available to talk a little bit about this tonight. I think one of the great things about this live cast that is been created because we can't get together in person is that we now get to do a little bit of in-depth discussion with the owners and those that created these different preservation award areas. And ordinarily it's a walk across the stage at the Morton Theater grab a banner and then you're off, and nobody really gets to learn that much about it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.